Welcome to our deep dive, all about interleaved image text generation. It's where AI is doing more than writing stories now. Now it's illustrating them too. It's really like visual storytelling taken to a whole new level. And you sent over some research on this new benchmark. It's called OpenING. And wow, it sounds like it's really shaking things up.
Yeah, it's really fascinating to see how OpenING is tackling these challenges. Some of the biggest challenges in this field, because to create content that seamlessly blends images and text, well, that takes a deep understanding of both visual and linguistic elements. You can't just like slap a picture next to a caption.
Right. It's like you're trying to write a novel
Yeah,
and at the same time design the cover art.
right.
Like all at the same time. It's like AI is doing a real mental juggling act. But the research that you shared points out that there are some limitations. With the existing benchmarks, they talk about small data sets and not enough diversity in the tasks they're using to evaluate these models.
Yeah, and that's a real problem because it doesn't give us a true picture of what these AI models can really do. It's like judging a chef only on whether they can make scrambled eggs. You really need to see their full repertoire to understand their skill level. So Opening Road tries to fix that by using 5,400 human annotated examples across 56 real-world tasks.
Wow, that's a serious upgrade. And it covers such a wide range of scenarios too. Fashion, cooking, travel, things that are actually relevant to people's lives. So walk me through this. How does Opening Trot actually work? We've got these AI models generating all this content, but how do you judge if it's any good?
Well, that's where InJudge comes in. It's this specially trained AI model
Right.
that acts like a referee for this kind of content. It's almost like an AI critic. It can look at a blend of text and images and say, this works or this needs improvement.
Whoa, an AI judging AI. That's very meta. But how do we know that InJudge is actually a fair critic?
Well, they trained it on OpenING's diverse data set. So it's got a good grasp of what quality means, when it comes to this kind of content. And here's the really interesting part. InJudge's ratings are very close to human judges. It has about an 82% agreement rate with humans, so it seems to be pretty darn accurate.
Wow, that's impressive. So what's OpenID telling us about the state of this whole field? I mean, is AI about to take over the creative world?
Well, not quite. The research shows that generating this kind of high-quality interleaved content, it's still a challenge, but there's definitely progress being made. One interesting finding is that different types of AI models have different strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah, the research mentions three main categories: integrated pipelines, two-stage generators, and end-to-end generators. I have to admit, this sounds kind of intimidating. Can you break those down for me?
Sure, so integrated pipelines are like assembling a team of specialists. So you have one AI model that focuses on generating text, and then another one that handles the images. And they kind of work independently, but their output is combined at the end.
Ah, so it's kind of like a division of labor, each model playing to its strengths. Okay, what about two-stage generators?
Two-stage generators try to streamline things a bit. They use a single model for both text and image generation, but they do it in separate stages. So it's like a multi-talented artist, who first sketches out the composition and then adds the colors later.
So a more integrated approach, but still kind of a step-by-step process. And then finally, we have the end-to-end generators. Those sound like the most ambitious ones.
Exactly. End-to-end generators aim for the big prize, trying to do everything at once, generating text and images simultaneously. It's like an AI trying to write and illustrate a children's book, all in one creative burst. It's incredibly challenging to get it right, though.
Yeah, I can imagine. So is any one of these approaches emerging as the clear winner?
Well, based on Opening Core's findings, it seems like the integrated pipelines are performing the best right now, particularly the ones using models like Gemini and Flux. They're producing content that's more coherent, and it feels like it's more seamlessly blended.
That makes sense, given how complex this task is. So what else is OpenIG revealing about what these AI models can do? Any surprises?
One of the most surprising findings is that in many cases, the text generated by AI is actually judged as better than human written text. But when it comes to images, well, there's still room for improvement.
So AI is already a wordsmith, but it still needs to work on its visual artistry. That's both fascinating and a little funny. Why do you think we're seeing this gap between AI's text generation skills and its image generation skills?
Well, language is naturally more structured than visual art. It's more rule-based. And AI is really good at pattern recognition, and it can use its vast knowledge of grammar and syntax to create compelling text. But images are different. They involve a more nuanced understanding of composition and style and how all these visual elements work together. It's a whole different kind of creative challenge.
So it's like AI has mastered the rules of grammar, but it's still learning the art of visual storytelling. What does that mean for someone like our listener? who's deeply interested in this field.
Well, it shows that AI can be a really powerful creative tool, but it still needs human guidance and expertise. And it suggests that in the future, the creation of this kind of content might be a collaboration between humans and AI, each playing to their strengths.
That's a fascinating thought. So we've got all these different AI models, each with their own pros and cons, and OpenING's putting them all through their paces. So where do we go from here? What kind of deeper dive should we do into the models themselves and what they're telling us about the future of this technology?
We should definitely look at the specific models that OpenING is evaluating. There's one called Unknowl that you're interested in, right?
Yeah, a null. It's described as an open model, which seems like a big deal in terms of accessibility and collaboration.
Yeah, it is. Anole being open source is a significant development, and we should definitely discuss its performance and its potential impact.
Absolutely. Let's do it. I'm so curious to see how this open approach might shape the future of interleaved image text generation.
So Anole, yeah, it's a fascinating case study. As an end-to-end generator, it's trying to do what those integrated pipelines do. But with a single unified model,
That sounds really ambitious, like trying to write a whole symphony with just one instrument instead of a whole orchestra. What are the advantages of that approach? And how's a null doing according to OpenING?
well, the potential upside is efficiency
Mm.
and elegance. If you have a single model that can do it all, both text and image generation, that could lead to a more streamlined creative process. But OpenING suggests that Anole, while it's promising, still has some catching up to do in terms of performance.
Yeah, the research you shared mentioned that Anola's text generation is often like on par with or even exceeding human written text, but its image generation needs more refinement. It seems like that's a recurring theme with these AI models.
Yeah, it does seem like AI has a knack for language. Anole, just like the other models we've talked about, uses its massive data set and its understanding of grammar to produce some pretty impressive text. But visual creation is a different beast. It's not just about understanding individual elements. It's about mastering things like composition and style.
So AI might be able to write a beautiful poem, but it struggles to paint a masterpiece. What are the researchers saying about the limitations they're seeing with Anol's image generation?
Well, they point to the need for more comprehensive training data, especially in areas like image composition and style consistency. Right now, Anole can create images, but they might not have that artistic finesse and coherence that we see in images created by humans.
So it's like it's still learning the rules of visual aesthetics. But this is where the open aspect of Anola comes in, right?
Well,
If more people can access the model and tinker with it, won't that help it develop faster?
Yeah, that's the hope. Open sourcing Anole could be a real game changer. It creates more transparency, which allows researchers to identify and address any biases. And it also encourages collaboration, with developers from all over the world, contributing to its improvement.
So Anola might not be at the top of its game yet, but its open nature could be the key to unlocking its full potential. This brings up a bigger point: the impact of all these advancements in interleaved image text generation. We've talked about some potential applications, but where do you see this technology going in the next few years?
Well, the possibilities are really exciting. Imagine AI-powered educational tools that can create personalized textbooks with interactive visuals. So instead of having a static diagram in a biology textbook, you could have a 3D model of a cell that you can rotate and explore.
It'd be like having a virtual lab right
Uh,
there in your textbook.
Yeah.
Wow, what about other fields? I'm thinking about marketing and advertising. I mean, AI could create some incredibly targeted and engaging campaigns.
Oh, absolutely. Instead of those generic ads we see everywhere, you could have AI-generated content that speaks directly to your interests, maybe even tailoring the visuals and text to your current mood or location.
From personalized learning to dynamic advertising. That's quite a range. What about entertainment? Could we see AI writing and illustrating entire graphic novels, or even creating those interactive stories where the reader's choices influence the plot and the visuals?
We're already starting to see AI experimenting in those areas. There are tools that can generate storyboards and even animate simple scenes. As these tools become more sophisticated, I think we could see AI playing a much larger role in things like animation film and even video game development.
That's incredible. Sounds like interleaved image text generation could totally change how we experience and interact with stories. But as with any powerful technology, there are always potential downsides. What are some of the ethical considerations that we need to keep in mind as this technology evolves?
Well, one crucial consideration is bias. We've talked about how these AI models can sometimes struggle with image generation, sometimes producing results that reflect biases that are present in their training data. So it's really important to make sure that these models are trained on diverse and representative data sets, so they don't perpetuate harmful stereotypes.
So just like we need to be careful about the language we feed AI, we need to be equally careful about the images.
Exactly. We need to make sure AI is learning to see the world in a way that's fair and inclusive.
This brings up another concern, the potential impact on human creativity in jobs. If AI can write, illustrate, and even animate, will it eventually replace human artists and writers?
It's a valid question. While AI can automate certain tasks, I don't think it will ever fully replace human creativity. There's a depth of emotion and lived experience that goes into human art. And that's something that AI, at least in its current form, can't fully replicate.
So it's more about collaboration than replacement.
Yeah, I think so. AI can be an incredibly powerful tool, but ultimately it's up to us humans to guide its development and make sure it's being used responsibly.
So we've talked about the broader implications. Now let's get back to the nuts and bolts of how these AI models actually work. You mentioned that different approaches have different strengths and weaknesses. Can you talk a bit more about that? Maybe focusing on the key differences between integrated pipelines, two-stage generators, and end-to-end generators.
Okay, so let's break down these approaches a bit more. So integrated pipelines. With their separate models for text and image generation, they're kind of like those specialized teams, working on different parts of a project. So you might have a language model like GPT-4 that's really good at crafting the text. And then you have an image model like Daily 3, creating the visuals.
So a bit like a film production. With the screenwriter and the director working together, what are the advantages of this kind of divide and conquer approach?
Well, it lets you use the best tool for each job. Like if there's a really awesome model that's amazing at generating super realistic images, you can just plug it right into your pipeline, even if it can't handle text at all.
Ah, so it's all about flexibility and specialization. But I'm guessing there must be some challenges, too, in getting all these separate models to work together smoothly.
Oh, absolutely. Integrating those models takes careful fine-tuning to make sure the text and images blend seamlessly. You don't want it to feel disjointed or like you just force two separate pieces together.
It's like making sure the soundtrack really fits the visuals in a movie. You need that harmony between the elements. So how do two-stage generators deal with this integration challenge?
Two-stage generators try to simplify things by using a single model that handles both text and image generation. But it does it in distinct stages. So think of it like a painter who first sketches the whole composition in pencil, and then they add layers of color later. So it's a more integrated process, but still step by step.
Interesting. So it's like you've got this multi-talented artist who can handle both the writing and the illustration, but they might tackle those tasks one after the other. What are the potential benefits and drawbacks of that kind of approach?
Well, one advantage is that the model has this shared understanding of the overall concept, and that can create more coherence between the text and images because they're both coming from the same AI brain, so to speak. But on the other hand, this approach can be really computationally demanding, and you might not have as much flexibility to swap out individual components like you do with the integrated pipelines.
So it's a trade-off between integration and flexibility. And then finally, we have those end-to-end generators, the ones that are going for true simultaneity.
Yeah.
Where do they span in terms of development and how well they're performing?
Those are still the hardest ones to really perfect. Imagine an AI trying to compose a song and choreograph a dance routine at the same time. It's so hard to get that level of synchronized creativity. And while end-to-end generators have huge potential, they haven't quite reached that same level of quality and coherence yet as the other approaches.
So it's like the holy grail of interleaved content creation, a single AI system that can seamlessly blend words and visuals, all in one creative burst. It sounds like we're not quite there yet.
Not yet, but the progress is really exciting to watch. And as these models keep getting better, they'll keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible with AI-generated content.
It's been an awesome deep dive exploring the world of interleaved image text generation. We talked about OpenING, that groundbreaking new benchmark, and InJudge the AI referee that's helping us evaluate this whole new wave of creative AI. We also dug into those different ways of building these models, from those specialized teams to those unified systems. What's a big takeaway here for our listener who's clearly so invested in understanding this whole field?
I think the biggest takeaway is that we're seeing a real shift in how we create content. You know, AI isn't just a tool for automating stuff anymore. It's becoming like a creative partner. And just like with any partnership, it's really important to understand both the strengths and the limitations of each partner.
That's a great point. We need to approach this technology with a sense of wonder,
Sure.
but also with a healthy dose of critical thinking, recognizing all the amazing things it can do, but also being aware of the challenges. Any final thoughts for our listener as they keep exploring this exciting field?
Yeah, I would just encourage them to stay curious, stay informed, and stay engaged. This field is moving so fast, the next big breakthrough could be right around the corner. Who knows what amazing new forms of creative expression we'll see in the years to come.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us in this deep dive. We'll see you next time for another journey to the frontiers of knowledge.